We added 95% of 7,000 vehicles in 3 months. We've had a 40+% in reduction in our speeding events, looking at AI coaching technology that allows us to coach the driver real time so they can correct their behavior before an accident would occur.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another Geotab Connected Conversations. Today we're going to be talking about telematics transformation, rapid implementation, best-in-class safety, and streamlining efficiency. My name is Daniela Recio-Oquendo Fernandez. I'm part of the Signature team. I'm one of the senior Signature account advisors, and today I have Neil Hartzell joining me. Neil, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Neil Hartzell with TopBuild. I am a VP of Supply Chain and Logistics. My responsibilities include all of our logistics freight management, as well as our fleet and our DOT compliance. TopBuild is an accumulation of brands that install and distribute insulation materials throughout the United States. We have grown through acquisition, and absorbing those acquisitions, we retain brand names to retain that local brand recognition. As we continue to grow through acquisition and now venturing into other arenas besides insulation, we will continue to maintain that branding strategy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, glad to be here.
So Neil, to get us started, TopBuild, as you mentioned, is a very, very large company. So how did you choose Geotab?
Yeah, so when I joined the company, we had 3 telematics systems, one for ELD and one for basic telematics. We ended up acquiring the same year that I joined the company, a third company that had an ELD solution, which just so happens to have been Geotab and with T-Mobile. As we look at that, my immediate goal became to try and consolidate those platforms into one platform and make it easier on us to manage all of the data that's coming at us. So the initial goal, like I say, was to get the one platform and deliver something that the company could use to improve driver performance, improve our utilization of our fleet, improve all the things that go along with fleet operations. Like I mentioned, there was 3 systems, Geotab being one of them. After talking with Geotab and T-Mobile, talking about data accuracy, data integrity, the data that would be available, the performance scorecarding, the things that we would need from the system, we became confident that Geotab could deliver what we needed. So we proceeded to engage in those conversations and chose Geotab for those reasons.
So keeping in mind the size of the company and, once you made the decision, how did you make sure to structure the data so that it would be actionable for you and your branches?
Yeah. The way our company is laid out, there's a hierarchy of, we have the corporate level where my team is looking at the entire fleet, but yet we need to be able to break that down by business unit so that we can metricize each business unit. Then we need to break it down within those business units. We have regions, and then each region has a series of branches, and the branches obviously have vehicles underneath them. So at all those levels, we needed to be able to metricize the data that we were getting. So structuring it under that hierarchy is what gave us, is how Geotab gave us the ability to deliver what we wanted.
Yeah, well, and it's an ongoing process too, because they're always changing, things are moving, so we want to make sure that we're keeping up with those changes so that they're properly reflected.
Agreed.
Long term. So, you made the decision to go with Geotab, and then you started doing the pilot with a couple hundred vehicles. You had one of the fastest deployments at this scale. So what was your process to make this happen and to make sure that it was successful?
Yeah, I think the thing that we did right was really have a single point of focus for the implementation of the project. We also spent some time before we implemented talking with our executive team, talking with our operations leadership teams, and talking with leaders at the branch level, and helping everyone understand what this system could deliver for us, and explaining to them what Geotab offered. That got us the buy-in we needed. So the other thing we did is that central point of contact, you could call it a program manager, delivered the execution of assigning the devices to each vehicle, shipping the devices out, and really what we asked of the branches was just install it. And then it'll automatically come up online and we can proceed with collecting the data that we need.
So, once the devices were installed, how quickly were you able to begin realizing the value of the data?
Yeah, I think the number one thing we noticed right away is an improvement in driver safety. I think putting the devices in made them aware that it was there. Then we started the scorecard. The first thing we did was launch the driver safety scorecard, and that immediately gave traction to driver conversations and coaching, and just having those conversations changed the metrics. And that's what we continue to drive today, here 18, 19 months later.
Yeah. And again, ongoing communications and collaboration, because the feedback is important to know where you go next, for sure. So you did mention that safety is a big priority for TopBuild. How did you use, the Geotab Telematics to start measuring those improvements in the safety performance? I know that you did see an improvement of up to double digits within the first year.
Safety is a primary core value for TopBuild. It's one thing that we focus on. You can't have driving safety without job site safety. You can't have job site safety without driving safety. And Geotab really helped us focus more on our driving performance. We've seen an improvement in our driver safety score in all segments of our business. We've had a 80+% improvement in our seatbelt utilization. We've had a 40+% improvement in reduction in our speeding events, and over a 20% reduction in preventable accidents.
Oh, that's amazing. So obviously many things go into talking about safety, but then we've got the basic ABCs, your harsh braking, cornering, acceleration. Which one would you say was the most challenging to manage?
Yeah, it was the most challenging initially, and it's even still today. One of our highest incident counts is the speeding. I mean, speeding is tough to manage, especially when your limitation is 6 over, and most people drive 9 over. So it's really, we all do it, but it's in the commercial environment as a carrier operating on public roads. You have to have these standards, and you have to measure them and coach to them and help drive the behavior in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think you actually mentioned, to me before, how some of those behaviors have even influenced the personal, lifestyle of some of the drivers.
Yeah.
So
we had a driver that was score was not that great. Started to have conversations about his performance as a driver. He wanted to do a good job as a driver. Geotab then changed his behaviors. He watched his score every week to make sure he was performing well. And later, as a consequence, his wife actually made the comment to him that he's a better driver now than he used to be.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something very valuable, and it's good to hear that. And I think it's important for us to keep in mind as we talk about collaboration, not just amongst ourselves, but also the feedback from the drivers. Because I know we've also had instances around harsh cornering and some of the potholes. And then we've visited some of the locations in person and realized quickly there was, very valid feedback from those drivers, and it just makes that relationship much better, and for them to be, trusting you, trusting us, because we are making adjustments as we go and not just imposing something on them. So. Yep.
They want to do a good job driving. They want to be safe. Like I say, it's ingrained in our culture, and they do well taking the feedback. Yeah,
that's amazing. Well, that's from the drivers, right? But then we've touched on getting buy-in from like a corporate level and some of the other departments within TopBuild. For as far as like your risk and safety departments, how have they benefited from leveraging the Geotab data?
Yeah, there's multiple departments that have leveraged the information. The mileage data is leveraged across the organization. We used to measure accidents per fleet unit, and we wanted to be more like the standard, the industry standard, which is accidents per million miles. Geotab's accuracy and integrity in the data gave us the opportunity to make that change. We didn't have that opportunity in our prior environment. So we really, really enjoy that. Our risk team utilizes the Geotab system to help with accident investigations, and it helps them do accident reconstruction. We also have recently started to really kind of dive in, and we worked with the Geotab safety team to help improve and develop the risk analytics and how that delivers information to us that we can utilize within the organization.
Yeah, I know the risk analytics and the major collision, which is a little bit AI based as well. You do a really great job at working with our teams to provide feedback and the validity of the data and making sure that everything looks correct. So that's very valuable to us as well, to have a partner like that.
Yeah, we don't want to be just a customer. We want to be a partner in making it better for us, and if that consequently makes it better for other customers, so be it.
Yeah.
But it's been good.
So shifting a little bit, I know another area of focus has been utilization. So how do you define utilization in TopBuild?
Yeah, utilization is really about utilizing the expensive asset. I mean, trucks aren't cheap anymore, and then we upfit them with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. So now you've got a really expensive truck that you have to make sure is producing revenue to support that expense. And Geotab gives us the ability to monitor that and make sure that we're getting as much utilization out of our fleet as we can. Anything that's not being utilized, we adjust its location to support another area where we can utilize it more.
Yeah. So along with the utilization and looking at how TopBuild works, I know that each branch is still, manages their own business, and they're free and able to, or maybe not free and able, but encouraged, right, to make their own decisions. And I know that engine diagnostics is another big part of Geotab and some of the recent features that were improved. Do you think the branches are currently leveraging engine diagnostics?
Yes, they are. The last thing a branch or a driver wants is a truck that breaks down. Nobody wants a broken down truck. It costs you time and money every time it happens. So when we launched the engine default codes reporting, and we sent that out, they're able to talk to their local mechanics. We give them the autonomy to manage the maintenance on their fleet. We don't, you have to do it this way. We don't tell them that. We provide them the information, and we let them manage their fleet, maintenance on their fleet.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the great things about the way that you've structured the My Geotab platform for your branch managers, your regions, and your locations, because they truly do have that flexibility to go in there and take a look at the data whenever they want to, and not just be told that they have to do something. But more and more, I do see them coming to us and asking for that information.
Yeah, they're always asking for more, and some of them have gone as far as, in their production rooms, where they have all of their product line production managers. They'll have a big monitor up on the wall, similar to this TV, with all of their vehicles displayed on it, so they know where their teams are.
Yeah, that always does make me feel good when I walk into one of the offices and I see those images pulled up. Safety, utilization, engine faults, obviously there's a lot of value that comes from having the insight and helping make informed decisions, but safer driving does also promote saving on fuel. Can you share how else you maybe are saving currently?
Yeah, obviously speeding is a fuel consumption issue. Excessive idling is a fuel consumption issue. Some of our trucks run off PTO, so we have non-productive idling and we have productive idling. Geotab gives us the ability to separate those out based on the OEM engine data, and then we can kind of monitor and make sure that we're maximizing the performance of the unit and operating it only as needed.
Yeah. Well, and what I really like is that you're also really taking advantage of the automation features, because you make sure that whenever we're working on a report, you remind me, hey, let's make sure that we email this out to the branches in the location. So that way you're kind of removing that as being one of the barriers, because you're making the data, again, readily available for them to start the day.
Yeah, it's a critical part of any program like this. You've got to put the information in front of them, and you've got to make it convenient. You can't force somebody to remember to go look at it. You put it right in front of them on a periodic basis, whether that's daily, weekly, or monthly. We do all three, and depending on what the information is, and that's helped advance our progress in this program.
Yeah. I kind of call it talking without talking, right? Because you kind of already have an action waiting for you to kick off the day. So at the beginning, right, you shared that when you were looking at the different systems that you were using, one of them was Geotab, and it was being used for the ELD purposes.
Yeah.
I know that also, as we talk about ELD, it's only one of the business units that's really leveraging it, but talking about flexibility, made it available to some other locations if they wanted to use it. What's been some of the feedback around the expansion of adopting Geotab Drive?
Yeah, we've focused primarily on the locations that require it for ELD compliance, but the functionality in the Drive app gives us an opportunity to expand that more broadly. We're kind of making it a voluntary transition. If they want to transition to use it for the DVIR functionality, if they want to transition to use it for ELD, even if they're operating across state lines or outside of 150 air mile radius, they have that option. Especially if they're going on trips. Rather than, we used to get trip permits, and now we don't. We utilize the functionality in the ELD to help us manage that.
Yeah, well, and I've really liked your strategy about not overwhelming, the locations with a lot at once. Safety in itself, even though it sounds easy, there's different pieces to it. There's lots of conversations around it. So sometimes the mistake that I see large companies make is that they want to do everything at once. Yeah. And sometimes step by step is a better course of action, and ELD and Geotab Drive App can be a huge another undertaking. Yeah.
We were very focused when we did our implementation about making sure that we didn't overwhelm them. So the first thing we launched was the safety scorecard, because that was our primary focus. Safety was number one. Improve our driver performance. 60 days later, we launched another report. 60 days after that, we launched another report, trying to continually provide them more information, but giving them time to absorb and become comfortable with looking at that information and managing what they needed to for that perspective. So as we continue, I mean, we've launched all the reports that we plan to launch right now. We have a few new ideas in the future, but the teams are comfortable, and now they're coming back to us asking for more information that relates to what we've already given them. So now we're developing solutions, we're giving them the opportunity to give us feedback and provide feedback on what they're learning from looking at the data we're providing. So as we continue to do that, that allows Geotab and TopBuild to partner and solve some of those potential challenges or successes.
So now that we've had several successes, one of the recent decisions that you've made is expanding into tracking non-operated assets such as trailers. So I know that you decided to go with the Go Anywheres. How did you get to that decision?
Yeah, we had options available, but the whole idea of having everything in one platform, so the branches aren't going to multiple systems to see where their stuff is, would make total sense. We did not want multiple platform environment. That's what we got away from. And then in addition to that, we had options that we could have integrated into Geotab that would have kept everything on the same platform. But as we evaluated all of those options, the Go Anywhere device rose to the top and really gave us an opportunity to have everything on one platform and deliver the results we wanted. We started out, we're doing all the new trailers that we purchased in the past 2 years, and we've got some more trailers on order that will also go into that platform, and we'll continue to grow that as demand needs.
Yeah, no, really looking forward to that. I know I was just checking in, making sure all of them were communicating and showing, and you were like, yes, this is good to go, and we set it to every 4 hours or so. Yep. for the location ping.
Yeah, we've added to some specialized assets too that we're using in a different type of program, not just our normal fleet operations, but a different type of program so we can monitor those assets, because they're not in our control at all times, so we have to have some sort of monitoring.
Yeah. Well, and it's a prime example of the utilization, right? Like you've started with your vehicles, but now you do have to continue thinking about what that next step is and how do you track everything. And sometimes it's all about giving it some thought, and sometimes the one thing that you didn't think about is still an opportunity to know where it's at. So it's ever changing. You've accomplished quite a bit in a very short period of time. I know that we do meet on a weekly basis, and we always make sure to bring in the right teams to make sure that we are progressing accordingly and tapping into the right resources. Can you share with us a little bit what it's been like, that collaboration along with T-Mobile?
Sure. First of all, it wasn't me or even my team that accomplished what we've accomplished. It's our field operations teams deserve all the credit. They're the ones doing the driver coaching, the drivers doing the performance improvement on their own and paying attention to the feedback and adjusting their behaviors accordingly. So they deserve all the credit for the successes that we've had. And having a team, the signature customer team with Geotab and the T-Mobile support has been overwhelmingly positive. We couldn't have done this without their support. They have delivered all the way along the way. I remember one of the first calls that I was on with the team right after we got ready to start the implementation, and the meeting took longer to do all the introductions of all the faces on the screen than it did to have the actual meeting on the topic we wanted to discuss. So it was critical to our success, and every time we get on there, both T-Mobile and Geotab are represented and always there to support our every need.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because yes, we do bring all of these resources to the call, but we're only going to be as successful as your field operations are successful. And you do have a very collaborative team where they're always sharing what's working and what's not working,
Yeah.
And that makes it really easy for us within the signature team, and especially for myself, because I don't really have to guess, and that's where that partnership really makes it just makes it easy. It's the reality, and along with T-Mobile, they're also always available to make sure that we are, we're syncing up and that we're there when you need it.
Yeah, the professionalism of our field operations teams is top notch, and they've actually interacted with you at their locations when I'm not anywhere around. So it's really important that we have that connectivity throughout our organization to continue the partnership and continue to grow.
Yeah, and actually something that I thought was really amazing, so I do have the opportunity to join some of your Friday calls for some of the ELD focused calls, but you are there.
Yeah.
It's not just like somebody else is taking care of those items. You're actually there, and you are, communicating, and the exact same stuff that we're talking on our internal calls, you're actually passing that on to these branches and locations, and you make yourself available to them and what their concerns are. Personally, I can say that that's not something that you see often. So that's really, really amazing to see.
Yeah. My team really likes to provide the field operations teams what they need to execute. We provide a lot of guidance, and along with that guidance comes expectations,
right.
But we want to be there to support them as well. And having partners like Geotab and T-Mobile there right beside us supporting that as well. So appreciate you joining the calls and sharing information and sharing procedures that help them function in the system easier. It's great. Thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. Like I said, makes my job easier, makes your job easier. So everybody's happy.
Yep.
So Neil, you've now attended 2 Geotab Connects, and every time that you walk away from a Geotab Connect, you've got quite the list ready for us.
Yeah.
What do you see next for TopBuild, Geotab, and T-Mobile?
Yeah. My first Connect 2 years ago, we had already made the decision to move to. We had already completed the implementation. Yeah. We had 95% of 7,000 vehicles in 3 months. So we were fully implemented before I went to my first Connect. And I think the result of going to Connect would have been the same had we not already made the decision as it was having already made the decision. But Geotab Connect, by the way, both times I've gone, it's been the best conference I went to that year. But going to Connect just gave me a whole list of ideas of things that we could implement, things that we could do to improve our performance, things that we can do to help our drivers and our field teams. So that list comes out of that. Both times I've gone, I've come home with a new list. And I'm messaging my team while I'm there, hey, let's look at this, so they know when I'm at a Geotab conference.
Yeah, and I think that's the amazing thing about it, right? That you can see the vision, and it just expands the opportunities. Because again, sometimes you don't see what's right in front of you. We're in the details every day, but sometimes taking a step back and looking at it holistically, it also changes, right? The direction of where you're going. Because maybe you had something that you wanted to do next, but then you see the vision of Geotab as a solution, and it changes, right? Because it helps to adjust those timelines so that it hits your targets and goals as well.
For anybody that's trying to make the decision whether or not to move to Geotab through T-Mobile, if you go to Connect, that will help you make your decision. You'll see the breadth of the marketplace. You'll see everyone else that's there. You'll talk to other people like myself, one-on-one, finding out more about their experience, and you're not going to go it alone. I can assure you. The T-Mobile team and the Geotab team are right beside you every step of the way, and you'll get that sense. But it will help you make a decision.
Yeah, no, that's really amazing, and it truly is a great experience. It's one of the few conventions that personally I think it's great that you go and you find so many things that you sometimes have to takes so much more time to do, and all of the different resources. And for Geotab Connect, you've got everybody in one place. Now you can meet them in person as well. So it's really, really amazing.
Yep.
So I think with that, thank you so much, Neil, for being here with us today and sharing a little bit about your journey with myself and everybody here. It truly is one of the best experiences that I had working with a customer as well, because you don't make me guess. You tell me exactly what you're looking for. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think we have some time for questions if you're okay with that.
Sure.
So,
by the way, let me say that you and your team and the TMO team have, like I said before, made this extremely easy for us. So supportive. You've delivered what we've asked for. Every time we ask for something, you deliver it. And if you can't, you let us know why. Because we just didn't understand it well enough to know that we weren't asking for the right thing. So we've adjusted that approach. But thank you so much for everything you've done for us.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure. And I'm a big believer in the why, right?
Yeah.
Like, you are going to get a lot further really letting your colleague in on the reasoning rather than just, keeping it small. Sometimes you really have to open up a little bit and be transparent, right? So that's the best we can do.
I love that you're willing to talk directly to our field teams, because you don't, in most cases, you just want to deal with my team, but they're not the ones executing this. So you're willing to get in the dirt and see what they're doing at the local level, which is what drives them as much as it does us.
Yeah, and I'll come ready with my tennis shoes for those visits. the shoe game's got to be on point. Right?
We won't make you wear steel toes.
So the first one that we have coming in is, what other solutions are you currently looking at within the Geotab ecosystem, if any?
Yeah, there's such a variety available in the Geotab's ecosystem, but one of the things that we're looking at is potentially the implementation of forward-facing or driver-facing cameras. We are looking at the implementation of cargo cameras, so we can manage our cargo security. We are also looking at AI coaching technology that allows us to coach the driver real time, getting the information of what they're doing wrong in front of them immediately so they can correct their behavior. Sometimes before it counts as an incident in the Geotab scoring, or before an accident would occur.
Yeah, and I actually like that you have that as the next step in the safety coaching process, because the last thing that you want to do is try to coach someone, a week and a half after something happens. You want to be able to do that as quick as possible so that it really addresses the behavior as soon as possible, and it really just embeds it into their day-to-day.
I think we saw an improvement when we implemented the audible alerts. That improvement helped us improve our numbers. But again, that's audible alerts. It's just beeping, and having the driver understand that would be much easier if it was verbalized. And that's where we're hoping that the AI coaching will allow us to get that verbalization of their behavior and allow them to correct it and potentially prevent an accident.
Yeah, well, there's definitely way too many things beeping at us nowadays. So the simpler we can make it, the better.
Yes. Yeah.
So the next question, and this is actually a good one, you're going to relate to this one. I have a very diverse fleet. How did you address and implement the safety scorecard?
Yeah, we have a very diverse fleet. 45% is light duty, 65% is medium and heavy duty. We have everything from SUVs to semis. One of the things we did was we set up the vehicles in the system to identify the class of the vehicle. So that allowed us to apply harsh braking and harsh cornering and harsh acceleration G-force measurements to each class type of vehicle, which made the data more accurate for the class type of vehicle. The other thing that we did was we took our locations and we created a zone or a geofence around our locations that eliminated all of the harsh accelerations, harsh brakings, or harsh cornerings that might be happening in our yard. So it made the driver score a true out of our parking lot driving score, or on-road driving score.
Yeah, and the dialogue around this is really key to have accurate data.
Yes.
And I remember that the way that we worked through that is, again, really setting the expectations and the conversation around it, because we talked about, hey, we've got to solve for this, and you provided me with the categories exactly as you wanted them. We put that into the database as groups, and then that's how we leveraged and built that into the rules. And actually, the zones were actually that next stage of that process. Earlier we were mentioning, right, like going to the location, driving over the pothole, and that's where that came from, because as we rolled out and implemented the scorecard, we started getting the feedback and understanding a little bit better the tweaks that we needed to make. And yes, it took us a little bit of a back and forth, but we got it done.
The end result's what it's all about, and I feel like our driver safety scores right now are as accurate as they can possibly be. There are still a few things that we can keep tweaking and make better, but overall, it's in a really good place right now.
Yeah, and my advice as well would be that don't just set it and forget it, right? You've now spent all of this time talking about it and actually making the changes within the system. Make sure that you are taking a moment to go back and looking at it, because you did plenty of that, right?
Yeah.
If something didn't look right, we went over it, we tried to figure out exactly where that error was coming from, and we made sure to fix it until we got it just right. So it is it's not just one-sided, I want this to work, what's your expectation, and then you just kind of like roll it out and that's it. It's the stage part of it where you also want to make sure and revisit it and ensure that everything still looks right even months later.
Yeah.
Because it's not a one and done.
Sure. So for whoever asked that question, this is the kind of support that you're going to get if you implement Geotab.
Yeah, we definitely want to make sure we're asking the right questions. The next question is, what other ways have you integrated Geotab data?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have integrated Geotab data to help us with managing our tolls. So we use a nationwide toll provider that helps us manage all that, and integrating the Geotab data tells us when we have tolling charges that don't match the GPS location of the vehicle. We do the same thing on our fuel side. So we integrate with our fuel card provider. Our fuel card provider and Geotab are talking back and forth via API, which allows us to determine, very early on when we have a fuel charge at a location where the vehicle is not. Yeah. And identifying that very early and resolving that and beginning an investigation to fix it.
Yeah, and I actually recall that, not this recent Connect, but the previous one, the first one you attended, you got me in contact with the toll solution, and we actually right there and then had a quick little meeting and talked through what was needed to get that set up for you.
Yeah, and it's been invaluable to have that connectivity.
Yeah.
Both on the fuel side and the toll side.
Yeah, that's just actually a perfect example of what we were talking about Connect before. You just get
it was on my
many
list.
things done at once. Yeah,
it was on my list.
Yeah. Well, I think that's everything that we have for today, Neil. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and sharing what your experience has been like with Geotab, and thank you to everyone that joined us today as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.